Hello, this is Greg Stilson with HumanWare. We are here. I hope everybody is having a great day, and I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us this afternoon or evening, wherever you're located. This is the second KeyMath webinar that we're going to be doing. If you missed the last one, we will be posting on YouTube the original webinar that went through Peter. Peter Tusick is with me today. And he went through a number of things in that first webinar, including how to create math content, how to actually bring that content into your math homework assignment, which is a keyword document, and of course, how to save that document. He also went through things like the KeyMath symbol selector and how you can actually do or create math content in perfect looking print without actually needing to know a lot of the symbols. And that's really what the symbol selector does, is allows you to actually look up categories to find different math symbols in Nemeth or in UEB. So I want to introduce the platform that we're using today. So for those of you who have not been part of a HumanWare webinar, we are using a platform called Zoom, and the Zoom platform is super accessible. Myself and Peter are both blind individuals, and we are using the Zoom platform to send this content to you. So what a sighted person, if you're sighted seeing this presentation, you will be seeing Peter's BrailleNote Touch's screen. So we are sharing that screen, and we are able to share the audio as well. So if you're not able to see the screen, you'll be able to hear Peter's BrailleNote Touch speaking to you as well. I'll let Peter kind of introduce a little bit of what he's going to go into, but before we do that, just to give you a few keystrokes, if you are visually impaired or if you are using a screen reader, you can access the Zoom control panel by pressing Alt, Shift, and Control. And at that stage, you bring up the Zoom control panel that you can tab through to access the different components of Zoom. One of those things is the text chat or question and answer. And I urge you all, if you do have questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A box just by typing them in. We cannot, unfortunately, open up the microphones. We have almost 150 people on this webinar, so that's not feasible. But what we can do is answer the questions via text. So I'll be monitoring the question and answer box while Peter's doing the presentation, and I'll periodically stop Peter to go through some of the answers. But remember, the content that we're going to be going through today does apply to both Nemeth or UEB math content. So the BrailleNote Touch KeyMath application does support both. So if you're located in the US and you use a combination of Nemeth and UEB, or just Nemeth or just UEB, or if you're in Canada or other parts of the world that use UEB math, KeyMath is a solution for you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Tusick, our product specialist. Some of you may have met him in some of our workshops that he's done around the country. I'll turn it over to Peter to go through the second half of KeyMath and some exciting stuff to come.
All right, thanks so much, Greg, and thank you to everybody again for showing up. And for those of you who are watching this or listening to this later, a week has actually gone by, even though it may be about 7 seconds in your mind. So it is we're another week through the year, and I want to thank everyone for attending. And what we're going to do, as Greg said, is we're going to be looking at how we can use KeyMath to edit content. So I'm going to pull up the same document that I did last week, and then I'm going to work with that content, and I'm going to edit it, and then we will take that file and share that file. Greg, I'm not sure if you're trying to mute yourself, but you are bumping and grinding, my friend.
Oh, sorry about that.
You're fine. I just want to make sure everyone can hear us nice and clear on that recording, right? So you'll be good. But what I'm going to do is you will be able to hear my touch as I move through today's. I'm going to be editing that content and then sharing that content, and we'll talk about some best practices as well. So I'm going to, from the main menu, we're going to first open our document that we were looking at last week. So in theory, we're saying, okay, I turned my work in, wherever it may be. Now I've gotten my work back, and I need to edit that existing content. So I'm going to press the letter W from the main menu to go into Keyword.
Word processor,
so
colon, keyword.
Focus to Keyword, and I'm going to press Enter or a cursor router key to open or activate this to enter the Keyword menu.
Keyword menu.
And obviously, we don't want to create because we want to open an existing document. So I'm going to press the letter O and move to the Open button. And I'm going
Open.
to press enter or use a cursor router key here, and it will put me into key files.
Key files. Happy, happy, joy, joy
Perfect.
folder.
So happy, happy, joy, joy. For those of you who have ever attended a workshop with me, everything is always a good time. We don't get shut down. And I have named a folder here, happy, happy, joy, joy. But that is not my math folder. So I need to choose my math folder. When I'm in key files at this point, if I need to look into a specific folder or drive, I can always move to my drive selection by pressing D, as in drive, with the space bar. So I'm going to press D with space. And
Drive
I'm going
selection.
to select my
Storage.
storage drive, which is where everything I save internally is kept on the Touch. I do have the option here of if I have an SD card in the Touch, I could look in that drive, or if I have a USB device connected, I could look there as well. But again, this is D with space, moves us to drive selection. Going to open storage.
Go
And I'm
alarms
going to press
folder.
the letter M to move to my math folder that I've created. And I'm
Math
going to press
folder.
enter or a cursor router key to open that up.
Sam BrailleNote Touch in the Math Classroom Guide.
Perfect. So, and I press backspace with enter at the same time to stop that speech from talking. But I'm going to come into the second file in this folder, which I had saved last week.
Math lesson 3
So
4
it's
dot
math
docs.
lesson 3-4.docx. And this is my docx file with the math in it that I created in the first webinar. I'm going to press enter and open this up.
Loading. Please wait 3 period.
Perfect.
Edit box.
And our
End of
cursor is going to be
document.
placed in the same place it was when I left this document last week at the end of the webinar. So my cursor is at the end of this document. But what we want to do is we want to work with and edit some of this content. So remember, as we talked about last week, right now on screen, I can see in Braille my math lesson 3.4, and then I see that there is a math image. To the sighted user, you see this image in SimBraille. If I wanted to show you this image again, I could press enter with V to generate a visual preview of the math in context of my document, the way the teacher would get this docx file when I share it or save it or email it, I should say, which I'm going to do in a moment. But I want to edit some of this content. You may remember, I'm going to generate a quick preview so we can look at what we have here. So we can see, for those of
Generating
you
preview. Please
who were
wait
not
3
with me
period.
last week, we're going to
Android
use
checked. Drive
Drive
PDF
viewer
viewer.
to generate the preview. So I'm going to press enter. And it's going to generate
Drive.
that.
Page 1
Now,
of 1
you
Zoom.
can see, for those of us who are able to see this PDF viewer, the current view here, you're seeing that I have my math in this document. The first line, as you may remember from last week that I had written, is 3 plus 3 equals 6. And then I have some fractions and some other things. But my teacher is saying, okay, Peter, you were supposed to write 4 plus 4 equals 8 in that first line. So you need to edit this image, and that's what we're going to do. Remember, I'm in this PDF preview, which is only, this screen that I'm on right now is only for the benefit of the sighted teacher. So I'm going to press my back button, which is my triangular button on the front of the Touch, to come back into that Braille first document. I only showed this preview to give you a sense of what I had done last week so we knew what our frame of reference was. So
Edit box.
we
Image
hear that I've
start.
placed I'm back in my document, and I route my cursor to the beginning of the math image that I'd like to edit. This particular image has 3 lines of math in it. The first line was 3 plus 3 equals 6. The second line was 2/3 plus 3/4 equals 1 5/6. And you may remember the third line from last week in this first image was the cubed root of 8 equals 2. But I'm going to route my cursor to the beginning of the image that I'd like to edit, which is this image. And I'm going to be changing 3 plus 3 equals 6 to 4 plus 4 equals 8. Once I route my cursor, I'm going to press backspace with M. And because my cursor is placed at the beginning of my math image, the $ IMS, because my cursor is placed there, when I press backspace with M, all of the math from this image will be repopulated in Nemeth code in KeyMath. So I'm going to press backspace with M. And when I do that, I'm brought back
Nemeth.
into KeyMath.
Loading. Please wait 3 period. Edit box.
And just like last week when we pressed backspace with them, we're brought into KeyMath. However, this time, because my cursor was at the beginning of that image, I have now repopulated my 3 lines of content. And just like last week, if I want to read my current line, I can press space with C.
3 plus 3
To see that
equals
my
6.
focus is at the beginning. When I repopulate, my focus is always at the beginning of the image because it knows I want to edit in that image. So again, I'm just in Braille. I'm going to edit this. I'm going to route my cursor to after the 3 plus 3, and I'm going to backspace out 3 plus 3 and write 4 plus 4. And then I'm going to change the 6 and route my cursor, backspace the 6, and change it to an 8. So now my first line will read
4 plus 4
and I
equals
did that
8.
by pressing space with C. So again, I've changed changed my piece. And I want to update the visual preview as well. So remember, I could just export this and it will take the visual preview. But if I want to show you in real time, remember, I can press Enter with V when in KeyMath to update the visual preview.
4 plus 4 equals 8.
And so again, now this is showing properly in print. And then remember, our math speak that we talked about from last week is updated as well. But what I'm going to do is I've made this change and I need to export the image. So I've made a correction and now I need to export and I need to paste the corrected image into my document. So I've made my change, I've updated the visual preview, I've edited, and I'm going to press backspace with E. Again, that can always be found in the context menu, but backspace with E will bring me back into Keyword.
Exported to clipboard. Edit box.
And we hear that my
start.
cursor is still exactly where I left when I went to KeyMath. My cursor is at the beginning of the image. However, I still have the old image in this document. I need to delete the image that I currently have selected and paste the new image. So in the BrailleNote since day one, if we want to delete what is under our cursor, we can always press backspace with dots 3-6. Because my cursor is at the beginning of this image, if I press backspace with dots 3-6 at the same time, I will delete what is under my cursor. And that happens to be the whole image because I have the whole image selected. So I'm pressing backspace with 3-6 to delete the image. And it will just go away. And my cursor is now at the beginning of the second image, which was pi equals 3.14, and then I had another line.
And just to clarify a couple things, Peter, so for those of you who have never used KeyMath before, you may be saying, how is your cursor on an image, right? Peter cannot actually manipulate or put his cursor inside the math content that's in that image. What he actually is doing is there's tags, just like there have always been tags in the BrailleNote. For example, the $P, or it looks like an EDP, is the tag for new line. There's tags for center and right alignment and things. We use those tags so that a blind person who's editing a document can understand formatting. Well, one of the formatting tags that we use here is what Peter was saying, the $IMS and $IME is for image start and image end. So when Peter puts his cursor anywhere inside that math content, you'll notice that his cursor goes on the $IMS to show him that he's actually about ready to, if he presses backspace and M there, anything that he does at that point is going to be brought into KeyMath. So it regards that whole math image as one entity. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's clear because some people have asked me in the past, well, can I just put my cursor on individual math parts inside that image? And the answer is no. You just need to put anywhere in the math, if you press your router key, you'll be put right on the $IMS, and at that point you can press the backspace with M, as Peter said.
Exactly. So because we're not editing the math content in Keyword, we're bringing it back into KeyMath. So remember, I had exported that image. I was placed, I'd made my correction and exported. I was placed on the old image. I deleted that old image by pressing backspace with 3-6. And now I'm going to paste the updated image with my 4 plus 4 equals 8. So I'm going to press backspace with V, just like I did last week, to paste. And when I do that, it's going to paste, and it just pasted my updated image into the file. So again, what I can do is I can press Enter with V again to generate a visual preview.
Edit box, Android system. Checked. Drive
and I'm going to use Drive
viewer.
PDF Viewer to create that preview for a sighted teacher. Again, just a
Drive. Page 1 of 1, zoom 165%.
Quick glance at my current page. So I pressed Enter with V to show the visual representation. And you see now that the 3 plus 3 that I had before, I corrected that to now say 4 plus 4 equals 8. So again, to edit content, and I'm going to press my back button to come back into my Braille First document. Because again, this screen, this visual preview, is nothing more than a preview that will show on the screen of the Touch, or if I'm connected to a projector or monitor, it's just to show the sighted teacher or parent or whomever what this math looks like in the context of my document. So I'm going to press my back button.
Edit box.
And what
New
we'll
line.
see is that I'm back in. So remember, if I want to edit math content, I route my cursor to the beginning of the image that I want to edit. So I could have, wherever my $IMS is, if I route my cursor anywhere in the image, my focus is always brought to the beginning of that image. My cursor will be there. I repopulate that math that I want to edit into KeyMath by pressing backspace with M when my cursor is on the start of the image that I want to edit. I make the correction, and then I can always update my visual preview in KeyMath by pressing Enter with V. And then I export by pressing backspace with E. once I export the corrected image, I need to get rid of the old image. I don't want my old content there. I want to replace it with my correction. So remember, when I come back into keyword, my focus is still on the beginning of the image when I left. So when my focus is on the beginning of that image, my cursor is on the IMS, I am able to press backspace with 3/6 to delete the old image, and then I press backspace with V to paste the corrected image. Again, there are some commands that are being kind of doled out here, and it's not about memorizing, excuse me, the exact steps that are in memorizing the keystrokes verbatim. It's about getting used to the concept that we're working with images and where our cursor placement needs to be. And then the steps all become second nature at that point, because we're just pasting images into our document. And it's important to know that we can absolutely edit math after the fact. So after I create that content and after I might receive some feedback from my teacher, I can absolutely make corrections.
And just to clarify, if you don't remember that backspace and 3/6 command to delete what's under your cursor, you can of course move your cursor after the image. So after you see the $sign IME, and you can backspace as well over the image to delete it. So it's whichever you prefer, but what Peter is showing you is that your cursor never moves from the time that you are in keyword to going to KeyMath with backspace and M, so that when you come back into keyword, backspace does 3/6. You don't have to move your cursor. It's just, it deletes the image right then and there. So
yes. So now again, so I've corrected some math. I'm going to save this document and we're going to talk about how I would share it. How would I get this to my teacher? How would I get this to a shared folder in Google Drive? Or how would I attach this to an email to Professor Stilson, right? What would I do to get that done? So I've already saved the file last week, but I'm going to press space with S. And again, because I've already saved it, it's just going to update.
Alerts,
so
edit
it
box,
just saved my changes,
line.
and I'm just going to hit my back button to come out of keyword. Or I could press space with E. Remember, the back button is your triangle button on the front of the device. The Braille equivalent is going to be space with the letter E, which it always has been on the BrailleNote family of products. So I'm going back to the keyword menu, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, we're going to use something called the share function on the BrailleNote Touch. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come to the main menu, and I'm going to open the File Manager by pressing F and then Enter.
File Manager : key files. BrailleNote Touch in the
And
Math
remember,
Classroom
we're back
guide.
in key files, exactly where we were when we first opened our BrailleNote, our math assignment a few moments ago. I could press D with space here if I wanted to look at a different drive. Remember, your best friend inside key files or any Keysoft application is this square button. That will teach you your shortcuts. How do I mark files or copy files or rename files or so on? So I'm going to find the file I want to share.
Math lesson 3/4.
This is it. So I want to share this document. And again, I talked about the context menu being our best friend. Well, that's where we're going to find the share option. So when I find the file I want to share, I could even mark 3 files and share them, whatever I want to do. But I find the file I want to share and I invoke the context menu either by pressing the square button on the front of the BrailleNote Touch to the right of the home button, or I can press space with the letter M as in menu, I'm sorry, or I guess math, but menu. So space with M or the square button pulls up my context menu.
Context menu, mark/unmark,
and
backspace
again, we're
with
going
L.
to see lots of shortcuts, copying, renaming, deleting, all sorts of things. But I want to share, so I can press the letter S, and we see that I moved to the share option. And when I press enter or a cursor router key on this, it is going to bring me up into a list of applications that I am able to choose. What do I want to use to share this file with? Which application on my device? So I'm going to activate it.
Android system.
And again,
not checked.
all right.
Hangouts.
We get a
com.google.android.
list of applications that's saying, what do we want to use to share this document? I want to save this file to Drive. Now, all of these, this is out of our control in terms of what each option is called. So you might think, I want to share this to Drive, I could just press D. Unfortunately, Google doesn't, it's not named that way. It's called, the option itself is called Save to Drive. Just like the option to put something in Dropbox is called Add to Dropbox. So I would use A. But I'm going to press the letter S, or I could use my space bar to move item by item down this list, or my next thumb key. But I know what I'm looking for is Save to Drive. When I press
not
S,
checked.
you'll see I
Samsung
move,
print
here's my
service
print service
plugin.
plugin. That's not very important right now.
Not checked.
I
Save
want to
the
save
drive.
this to Drive, so I'm going to check it and press Enter.
Checked. Save the drive.
And I will be brought
Save the drive.
into
Alert
the
save.
drive save dialog. This is not the keyword save dialog. This is a drive upload dialog. I'm immediately put in a place where I could change the name of the file, but I'm going to press my next thumb key. Okay?
Account.
And we're going to see my account. And again, this is my personal Gmail account. I always say in workshops, please don't email me here. I will not get back to you. I have a HumanWare email account for that. But we'll see that my Gmail account is here.
Gmail
and we
folder.
see that the current folder
Maryland. Click
that
to
I have
change.
is called Maryland. I don't want to save this to Maryland. I want to upload it into a folder that my teacher and I have that is called third period math. My teacher has shared this folder with me, and he or she expects me to put my work into that shared folder. So here it says Maryland, and it says click to change. I'm going to click here and change my folder.
Alert, navigate up, select
So
destination.
again, every single user out there, every one of you who is listening to this right now and watching this, none of your drives will look the same. They will all look different. There are two main sides to Google Drive, though. There is a section of Drive called Shared With Me, which is where anything that is shared with you, meaning you do not own the content, but another person has shared with yourself, those folders or files will live in Shared With Me. Anything that originates with you is going to be in my drive. So if I own a file or if I save things myself, I create them, they will be in, and I put them in my own folders. They're in my drive. And it's a concept that for those of you who are new to Drive, if you think of it and try to break it down into a very simple piece, it's that there are two sides of Drive. If I share something with somebody else, it's going to be in my drive because I invoke the sharing and I own the document. But if somebody else shares a folder with me and gives me access to a folder, it is going to be in Shared With Me. So this folder was given to me by my teacher, and it is called Shared With Me. It is in that folder. That's where I need to go, and the folder itself is called Third Period Math. So I need to come
Files. Short test.
I'm going to navigate up
Microsoft
here.
Word shared model top. Files. Short test. Files.
I'm going to move
Name.
up
Ascending.
to the
Cancel
top.
button.
You see a
Navigate up button.
I'm going to move up one level.
Select folders.
Okay. So
Google
we see I
Photos
have
folder
Google
model.
folders.
How to
I
guide
have some
folder
different
model.
how-to
Google
guides.
folders.
I don't
Create
really
new
want to
folder,
be here.
but select
Right now,
destination.
we're in my
Navigate
drive.
up button.
I don't want
Top.
my drive. I need to put things in Shared With Me, so I'm going to navigate up one more level.
Select navigate up button. Select
And
destination.
you'll see now I'm all the way at the top. I have no more navigate up button, but I can
computers. Shared
find
with me.
Shared With Me. I'm going to select Shared With Me as the
Name
drive.
back to class
And
with
then I
KeyMath course
see
with
that I have some different pieces
files.
here, but I want to come in and work
Back
with.
to class with KeyMath. GL 710 Central 1.3 Illinois Regional Information May 2016 Google Docs P2SIC follow up quick tutorial creating and opening document modified Illinois Regional GL set back to
And
class
what we'll
files.
see is I have a folder
Modified.
here that
August
is called
back to class files.
KeyMath.
Outsiders
Third period
Maryland
math,
full third period math
So
folder
here is the
modified.
folder that I want.
July 31st.
It is called Third Period Math, and I'm going to open it.
Select no items.
And there's no items in this folder. There will be once I upload, and I'm going to say select this folder.
Select button.
So I'm going to press the letter S to move the select button and press enter.
Drive.
And now
alert
we
save
will
the
see
drive. Document title.
that a document title, and we will see that the current folder is
third period math. Click to change.
Set to third period math. So now I can just hit the save button.
Save to save button.
And I press S to get
alert
there.
KeyMath lesson 34.docs. Your one file is being uploaded to third period math. Notification.
So again,
one file uploaded.
Now I have uploaded a file into a shared folder. Again, I will make that look simple on a webinar. It's a matter of knowing that there are two sides to Drive and knowing what your individual drive looks like. My drive will look nothing like your drive at all. It's all up to how I organize the drive and how I come in and work with my various teachers.
And something to think about is that you know, if you spend a lot of time working with you know, uploading assignments to your teacher's drive and things like that, if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, but Google Drive does remember the last location that you saved things to. So if you're always saving to a certain folder or set of folders that are on the Shared With Me side of Drive, then it'll always go there. So in many cases, you may, for example, only upload things to the teacher's side of the drive, the Shared With Me side.
Sure.
And so you may keep your own copies, your students, or if you are a student, you may keep your own copies of assignments on your BrailleNote Touch. But if you need to get them to your teacher, you may share with the the teacher's side of the drive. So the good news is that you don't always have to start from scratch. It'll always remember the last place that you had uploaded a file to. So it is smart like that.
Absolutely. So it will always remember the last place you were. So that was one way of sharing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into one other way, and that is, how would I attach this file to an email? So we looked at how I would use Drive, but there are more options in that share sheet. So when I invoke that share dialog, there are other ways that I can share content. So again, I'm focused on
BrailleNote Math Lesson 3.4.
the file that I want to share, and I'm going to bring up the share option again by invoking the context menu. So again, hitting my square button.
Context menu. Mark / mark. Backspace
I'm going
with
to press
L.
the letter S to move to share. And I'm going to press enter.
Android system. Not checked. KNFB
so again, there are
reader.
different ways I can share this, and it's going to, the options you see in this list will be determined by the applications you have on your device. I want to share this using KeyMail, which is our Braille First mail client. So I'm going to press the letter K.
Peter, let me pause you for a second. We have a request that you turn down the touch audio a little bit, just maybe 1 or 2 notches. I guess there's a big discrepancy between your voice and the voice of Eloquence.
Music volume set to 80%.
I can absolutely do that.
That's
Sorry
great.
about that, everybody.
Yep, thank you. No, you're good. You're good. Thank you.
So what I will do, that was good to know. So what I will do is I brought my volume down, and hopefully this will be better. And it should be easier to hear with myself talking over it, or it talking over myself. So I'm going to want to share this via KeyMail. And so I've hit share, and it brings up the options of applications I can choose. And in this list, if I press the letter K, I will move to KeyMail. And so I can check it with a cursor router key and press enter. And what it will do is it will attach my file to a blank KeyMail message.
Edit the email. Computer Braille is
and right
required.
away, I'm going to be put into the field, into the to field of my message. So I'm going to send this to Professor Greg Stilson. Although he is not an actual professor, he is my professor for the day. So I have him, I could type in his email address here, or I can simply find him in my list of contacts. So again, I'm in the to field. I'm going to press my previous thumb key to move to the
select recipient button.
Select recipient button, and I'm going to press enter. And I will be brought into
contacts list.
Up in here into key list, and I'm going to press space with F as in find, because I know Greg is somewhere in this list.
Alert search contact. Search for contact. Press
so again,
enter.
Space with F as it brings me into the list. I'm going to type in Greg, and I'm going to press enter. So we see that there is one result, and again, here's Greg Stilson. So I find him in my results list. I'm going to press enter on him, and it will automatically generate his email address into the to field. So we'll see now that the to field says
select the edit box. Greg.Stilson
that
at
is
HumanWare.com.
he is a professor, but he is also an employee of HumanWare. So in this field, I'm going to say that this is my math.
Edit box.
Oh, actually, that's not a very it's not a very professional subject. Let's go with math lesson 3-4.
Math lesson.
And I'm going to press enter. And again, or if I press my next thumb key, you will see that there is an attached file. So we see that there's an attachments view, meaning there is a file attached to this, which is going to be my math lesson. I'm going to write my message and just say
compose email edit box. New line.
Professor Greg here. Let me do this.
Oh, deleted. ROSSH delete E deleted.
Professor Stilson, because that is who he is. And I'm going to say my math is attached here.
Oh, I deleted. Stilson. Stilson. .2 deleted. Please see my math.
Whoa, did not spell the word attached right. So, all right. Now, what I'm going to do is, remember, if I want to know how to send this email, I can always pull up the context menu, and my command will be there.
Context menu.
So now I know next time I don't have to come into the context menu. I can just press enter here on the command itself. But next time I will just press backspace with the letter S.
Key files.
And you'll see that I'm
Math
placed right
lesson
back on the
3
file because again, I shared it, and now it's saying, okay, you've shared the file. You're right back where you were. You're right back on that file. So again, I can share something using Keymail. We saw that I could share something using Drive. Again, the concept or the way we share to Dropbox or the way we might share to OneDrive, or the way we might share to other cloud services is very similar, but it depends on, we have to have knowledge of the application we're trying to share to. Those are not HumanWare or Keysoft applications, so we can't necessarily rely on shortcuts that are going to be uniform across, once we're in those third-party apps, that will work across that spectrum. So it's about just our knowledge of the application that we are going to specifically work with.
And I think what's really important to remember is that, you know, this is something that your student, or if you are a student, was something you're going to be doing on a regular basis. And eventually it becomes sort of rote memorization, you know, that Peter knows that the save to drive button is 2 letter S's into there. So that's the beauty of first letter navigation, is that it allows you to, once you know what you're looking for, you can intelligently search these apps that you used to. If you were using, say, the touch screen by itself, you'd have to run your finger all over the screen, or you'd have to swipe through each individual item one at a time. Once you actually know what you're looking for, you can really expedite the efficiency of what you're trying to accomplish. And that's really the power of what Keysoft does in these third-party applications, is bring that first letter navigation to your benefit.
All right, and so that's great, Greg. And I know we're relatively limited here on time, but I'd like to talk about, so I'm going to reopen this math document.
Loading. Please wait 3 periods.
And again, I'm placed back in my document.
Line.
What I'm going to do, though, is I want to talk briefly about a couple of things that are coming in KeyMath this fall. So let me come down here, and I'm going to actually put I'm going to put myself back into KeyMath. And when I do that, I am going to press backspace with the letter M. I'm at the bottom of the document. So again, nothing will be populated for me in KeyMath because my focus is not on the beginning of a math image. So I'm going to press backspace with M and come into KeyMath.
Please wait 3
now,
periods.
At this point, I'm going to talk about something, and some of you may have seen this. Greg has demonstrated this at CSUN, and he's also talked about it in different places. But one of the hardest pieces for us as blind students was the ability to create and work with graphs. Greg has always told the story, and I was right there with him. We were doing graphs as juniors in high school using wiki sticks, or using what I call the Barbie pizza cutter, or using, which is the wheel that you trace on tin foil, or using different sort of tong and squeeze and kind of imprint different shapes on the paper. That is very important that we use in schooling. We should really be doing what our peers are doing, and that is using a graphing calculator that works with our medium to create perfect visual graphs at the same speed that our sighted peers are, doing it in the classroom. And that's what I'm going to be demonstrating. And I will also demonstrate what a blind user is going to be able to do with that graph. And Greg is going to jump in here as well, as he is driving this as well. So we're going to build a graph together, though. And I'm going to be doing what it is that my peers do. So my first graph that I want to build, I've solved an equation, and I need to graph 3, or actually I'm going to graph this. So y equals 3x plus 4. Now, again, I can read, I'm in KeyMath. I can press space with C to read the current line.
Y equals 3x plus 4.
We get it there, and that's great. And I can come down to the next line or press enter with V to generate that for you. What you will be able to do, and again, this is not part of KeyMath yet. This is coming later this fall, sometime as we move through the first semester of the school year. But I've created y equals 3x plus 4 in KeyMath, and I'm going to graph it, though, by pressing enter with the letter G.
Generating graph 3 periods.
And what will happen for everyone who is sighted is we've just created a graph for the line y equals 3x plus 4. And it is perfectly graphed in real time. I've done it in Nemeth code, and I'm graphing this for my teacher. And again, I will talk about how this benefits me in a moment. Right now, I'm just focused on the visual side of things for the sighted viewers of this. Now, I've come down, and I'm going to add to this graph. So I'm going to write something like y plus x plus 2 equals 0. Again, I can read it.
Y
So
plus
again,
X
I've created
plus
that
2
line in
equals
KeyMath.
0.
I'll show you the visual. You see the y plus x plus 2 equals 0. But now I want to graph this. So again, enter with G.
Generating graph 3 period.
And what it will do is it will not only add this line
Preview
to
ready.
the graph, so now I have 2 lines on my graph, but it will add it in a separate color, in a different color for that sighted teacher to see exactly what I'm doing. And so I've solved these through, and I'm going to be able, I know that these points intersect at -1, -1. So again, that's the point is in parentheses. And I'm going to generate, again, my graph by pressing enter with G. And you will see that this point will be plotted in a third color for you. So again, I'm able to create, and for the first time, in real time, create a graph. I am working in Nemeth code, and I'm creating this graph for my teacher. When I'm ready to, just like I did with KeyMath, when I was creating just regular old fractions and square roots and all that stuff, I can export this graph by pressing backspace with the letter E. And remember, that command is always in my context menu.
Exported to
I am placed back into my document, where I can paste my graph into my document by pressing backspace with V.
End of document.
And so I just pasted it. And what we have, again, we have SymBraille. I read y equals 3x plus 4 and y plus x plus 2 equals 0 and so on. But if I want to show you the graph in the document, I can press enter with V to generate that visual preview. And I'm going to use
Edit by Android
I'm going to use Drive PDF Viewer.
Checked. Drive. Page 1 of 1 Zoom 165.
And now this is the part of the program where, ladies and gentlemen, because I am totally blind, I believe, so right now I have 3 images on screen. I have my first 2 math images, and then I have a graph. But I'm unsure if you are actually seeing that on screen because I don't know if my graph is lower than the first 2 math images.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Peter, but I think you might be. So you may need to.
So keep in mind, I can scroll this a little. I'm not sure if we'll see it. Maybe that's too much. But again, what I've done though is I have put this image into. I'm going to make my zoom a little lower so maybe we can see it in context. But again, I am able to put this graph directly into my work. And that is how it benefits a sighted user. And now we're going to talk about how it benefits a blind user in a moment. Because I still don't know what this graph is.
Just to clarify, Peter, make sure, we may want to go back out and have you delete the first part of the, just delete the first couple images just to make sure that they are seeing the graphs on there.
Yep. So I'll come back and get rid of those first 2 images so we can just see. We can just see these first 2. Okay.
Real space and
let me get rid of this one as well. And then I will make sure.
Image start.
Away. Okay. I'm just going to put just the graph into this document just so that we don't throw everybody off.
Real space deleted.
I'm going to press backspace with V to paste my graph. Okay. Now again, if I press enter with V to generate this preview.
Edit by Android system. Check.
Now we should see my name and date, and then we'll see that I put that graph, just that graph, in the document. Again, because of I'm not sure to how many images were in focus, and if we were able to actually see this on this webinar without having someone give me visual feedback as to what was on screen. It was in the document. It was a 3rd image, but now it is the only image. So again, I can build graphs in real time. These will go very complex with parabolae and all the way up to our floors and our ceilings and all sorts of different graphical terms and things to really expand on and bring, for the first time, our ability to work in Nemeth code and do exactly what our peers are doing. Now, that's great. It's all fine and dandy for the sighted teacher, but how can I feel the graph? How can I know what the graph is? And that's a very valid question. So I'm going to regenerate the graph in KeyMath.
Peter, just to confirm, we did get some people saying that the scrolling did help, and
oh, good.
We got somebody saying this is amazing, and they're really excited to see it. So it's all good feedback. It's
I'm glad.
2 blind guys trying to show a visual concept does not always equal good stuff, but apparently it's working out so far.
We're trying.
We're working on it.
So remember from last week, I turned off Touch Braille, and again, it's more advanced, but I turned off Touch Braille on that preview with the outer thumb keys where I could then scroll and I could pinch and zoom. And again, that's only for the benefit of that sighted teacher. But so I'm going to regenerate this graph in KeyMath.
Generating graph 3 period.
And what I'm going to do is it's going to be ready in just a second. And now it's ready. So again, I am going to be able, and this is where Greg will come into play, because I won't do the exact example where I can feel it. But for those of you who have used the Orion or other pieces of graphing calculators where you can feel the sine waves, you will be able to do that here. And that's great. But there's more to it. It's more than just feeling the boop, 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 right? And feeling where the line goes. That was my best imitation of touching a sine wave. But what we can do is we're going to be able to use the program that we have created called Key Graphics. I am going to press Enter with I to generate an image of this graph. And the BrailleNote Touch will ask me
Android system.
what application I'd like to use to generate this image. And we have created a program called Key Graphics. I'm going to check the box for the cursor router key, and I'm going to press Enter. And what it will do,
alert processing 3 period.
Is it will bring up the image, and I will be able to, I'm just going to use my next thumb key to show you what's on screen here.
Key graphics.
So I can pick an image. I'll get to that in just a moment. Okay.
Standard.
There will be a way for me to filter the image between soft or hard or standard. Standard is just your regular clarity. Think of it, this is dot clarity because I am able to emboss this image, meaning I can emboss this graph and get a sense of what those lines feel like. So I will know that y equals 3x plus 4 is a line that moves from one quadrant to another, or what does the arc look like, or what does the circle look like, or what does my graph represent? And so I can emboss this graphic. What I can also do is, you see there's a spot for page size. So am I using
8.5x11,
8.5 by 11, or if I open this,
showing 2 items.
So we have 8.5 by 11 or 11.5 by 11, which is the big paper, as I always called it when I was in school. But your bigger standard Braille paper, the 11.5 by 11. So if I choose 11.5 by 11, it will reprocess.
Key graphics. Alert processing
into being allowing me to work with a bigger, a bigger size of paper. And this will work with the enabling embosser. So this will work with the Romeo 60, or the Juliet 120, or the Phoenix Gold. Again, this is where we are working on this as the first, graphical sort of creation tool for somebody who is totally blind. You also saw in here that I have an option that says pick image. And what that means is I could take an image, maybe that I get from an image library or from a Google search in theory, is something. I'm not going to go crazy here and start embossing pictures of the Mona Lisa. But I can take an image, preferably from something like an APH graphics library or somewhere, and I can emboss that image totally independently as a blind person so that I am able to get a representation of that image. And this is going to be, again, it's a graphical sort of, we're using a graph here, but I could take other images and in theory emboss them. So I have a sense of what that image is in Braille, in graphics, using tactile graphics. So again, this is something that we're working on that will be coming later this fall. Maybe Greg, you can talk for a few seconds as to when. And I know we're running, I don't want to keep anybody for longer than about 40 some minutes, but I very, very, very much appreciated your time. And just in summary, kind of looking at how we were able to edit math content, how we could share math content, whether it be via Keymail, whether it was to a cloud platform such as Google Drive, and then just talking about some things that are coming. The ability for the first time for us, once we understand how to use the wiki sticks and the Barbie pizza cutter, and we understand the concept of graphing tactily, how we're able to take that to the next level so we can truly succeed when we're in high school or something beyond in creating graphs and working in at a much higher level, so that maybe we can do so well in math that we can pursue careers in it as blind people. And I think that's very important to HumanWare and to myself, and I know Greg and many people out there, because math has always been a struggle, and we're trying to address that struggle. So I hope you found this useful. And Greg, do you want to take a couple seconds here? And if there's any questions as well.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So anybody who does have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A section. well, I don't see, but I hear the thing telling me that people are raising hands. Unfortunately, I can't call on you because we can't open up your mic. But please go into the QA section and fill in just type in your question, and I'll do my best to answer them. But one thing to keep in mind is that we did do a recent update in August for version 4, and many of you may ask, what did that include? It included a lot of stabilization, a lot of bug fixing, improvements, things like that. But one of the biggest things that it included was a enhancement to our Key Updater application, and that was the way that you receive your updates to your BrailleNote Touch. Well, what we did in the past, and what assistive technology has always done, is rely on these large, once, twice, maybe 3 times a year updates. And what HumanWare, we wanted to change the structure here at HumanWare of the way that we push out updates. So rather than doing just 1 or 2 large-scale updates, we're going to be pushing out frequent, potentially 4 to 6 weeks. Our goal is going to be monthly app updates, where we are able to bring you new functionality into each of the Keysoft applications and into Keysoft itself. It gives us a ton of flexibility to be able to react to if there's any problems in the classroom. Unfortunately, Google is always a moving target for us to follow changes to major apps and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're able to address issues that do come up and do it in a quick manner. So we have moved to this, what we call app-by-app update scheme. And one of those apps is going to be KeyMath, and that's going to be coming later this fall. We're targeting October, so assuming we can get everything working, we would expect to see this coming towards the October timeframe. But if possible, we'll push it earlier. But this is going to be our goal, is to be pushing out monthly or close to monthly updates to bring those features that you have been requesting to you faster. And I think it's really exciting. What you'll get in version 4 is you'll just see a notification that says Keysoft apps have updates. And now, in addition to providing these updates on a regular basis, you are also not going to have to download giant 1.5 gigabyte updates anymore. They're going to be very small updates that you can download in less than 5 minutes and continue using your device. So we're very excited to see that happening. We're targeting next month to begin that. So be on the lookout for some new Keysoft app updates with some features that people have been requesting for quite some time. So I'm going to quick pause here and go and just double check and see if I can see any questions. So Peter, if you want to elaborate on that while I'm searching through the questions, feel free.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited. I mean, the ability for us to update app by app is huge. It's much like what we get on our iPhones or any other tablet, in that apps can update, and it's not a large process. And we're looking forward to being able to bring updates. With the BrailleNote Touch, we're able to bring them every 3 or 4 months, which was a major departure from bringing updates once a year or once every 11 months or so. 3 or 4 months is now.
Okay,
We're
so I
saying
see
we can bring
I
updates
see.
every month.
Yeah, hopefully every month. So, and I do see a few questions. I apologize, it's taken me a little bit of time to go through these. But one of the questions that we did see is to name those embossers again. So we do have a partnership with Enabling Technologies, where the Romeo 60, the Juliet 120, and the Phoenix Gold embosser. And the Phoenix Gold is one of the best graphical embossers out there. And when you do buy a Phoenix Gold embosser, or actually any of these embossers, you do get the Firebird graphical editing software for those of you who are sighted and creating graphics for blind students. And it's a really robust piece of software that allows you to create those tactile graphics on these embossers. So with that, you do have the ability to emboss directly via USB, and that's the other thing, is why a lot of people ask, why aren't we working with more embossers? The reality is that Enabling went through the effort of designing a USB driver to make sure that these embossers work with the BrailleNote Touch. So we are able to emboss directly from that Key Graphics application. One thing Peter did not show, and I've seen this question a few times, is that when you generate that image, remember that it popped up with a list of applications that you could share that image with, Key Graphics being one of those. But Peter could have even shared it with the Google Photos application, and you would have actually just got a picture of that image that you could have shared with the teacher as well. So you don't just have to import that into your keyword document. You could actually just send that image or that picture or anything like that. You know, you could share that with your sighted teacher as well. The last question that I see here is there any ways to get those data points off those lines? And the answer is that we're not done with it, but that's our goal, is to be able to extract what we call hotspots. So to look where the intersection would be, and that's something that we do have access to. So we will be looking to see if there's a way that we can understand. And you know, Peter mentioned the ability to have an audio representation of those graphs, so that if you don't have an embosser, at least to get a sense of what those graphs look like from an audio perspective. And so that's just a couple other things that we are looking to bring with Key Graphics. As I said, we are the first device to really be able to do this all in one outside of the Orion, you know, graphing calculator. But this is the first real Braille device to be able to do this. And so it's going to be a moving project. What we'll be releasing in October, hopefully, or later this fall, is really just the beginning. We're dedicated to STEM. I am a STEM enthusiast, and we realize that this is really where blind people and blind students especially can use technology to bring themselves to an equal level with their sighted peers. So I'm going through and not seeing. Let me see if I see a few compliments. Peter, they're saying pretty cool, well done. Don't make his head any bigger than it already is.
No, we're golden. I really appreciate everybody attending these webinars, and I just very briefly want to say, for anybody down in Houston and all over East Texas, we have a lot of friends there with HumanWare, and our thoughts are floating that way. So I'm sure some of you who may be watching this down the road could not attend because of what's going on right now, and we're thinking about you. So we have that in mind, and hopefully you are watching this and at a better time when everyone's doing well and safe, and hopefully we'll see you soon. We do a lot of work down there, so it's
Absolutely.
I wanted to throw that in there as well.
Absolutely. Yep. And
Right,
in this case, you know, we will be recording this webinar. We will be blasting it out to everybody who registered, and of course posting it on our YouTube channel. And most likely in September, we will be reblasting links to these webinars, so that those of you who didn't have a chance to attend or missed that have the opportunity to watch the graphing concept and KeyMath in action. So as Peter said, I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your busy day. I know how crazy it is at this time right before school starts, or some of you school has already started. But we appreciate you spending your time doing some math with us on this Wednesday, and we look forward to speaking with you soon and seeing you at an upcoming HumanWare workshop, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.